now we're in downtown Toronto on Yonge and Davenport, and as you can see, I'm in front of a Masonic temple. But that's not all it is. Check this out. That's right, as you can see, this Masonic temple is actually MTV Studio. MTV Studios actually bought this Masonic temple to shoot programming in there. And this is just additional information to help you understand everything that we've been talking about in the videos, how they actually try to tap into this occult power so that they can influence our minds with this media. That's what's going on right here behind us at this MTV Studio building, which is nothing more than a Masonic temple. Ladies and gentlemen, wake up. This thing is simple.
When they do the symbol, because a lot of in the media, I don't know if they're still doing that today in the land of the living, but I know what I experienced when I went down there. They call themselves the elites, and what it means is the elites of like the satanic kingdom, and they do this thing with all-seeing eye. As you notice, you know, in the past I had that all-seeing eye too, because I had to become one of them in order to come back and expose them, you see. So this wickedness, and for a while they try to keep me silent, but I'm like, wait a minute, you know, Satan's a liar because he just wants me to be silent, because if we keep living in today's world, the land of the living, and there's no justice anywhere, like where's the God of justice, right? It's because I kept silent all these years, but I'm not going to keep silent no more. But what goes on down there in Hollywood, I don't know if it's still going on today, because I don't want to accuse nobody, but what I saw, you know, I pray that everybody out there repents, because the kingdom of heaven is at hand. You know, and they have lots of sex, child trafficking rings, and they even have their own churches, but they're very satanic churches, and they do abominations. You know, they sodomize each other. I'm not going to get into details because it's so traumatizing to what I saw and experienced down there. But you know, the more power you have, the more fame you get, the more depraved things you have to do. So I don't know if they still do that today, like I said, but God our Father knows, God in heaven knows, the cloud of witnesses knows. So I pray, Heavenly Father, that if these things still go on out there, all over the world, all these elites, whatever they're trying to do like this, to be quiet, you know, that you will bring exposure to them and bring swift justice to the children's lives that were sacrificed, the children that are molested, because they often, you know, they were even like molesting 3-year-olds, and then they're asking me like, can we go even like lower, meaning like, can we have with a baby? And it was just so disgusting, guys. This is why I'm so traumatized, because like, oh, I can't believe, you know, it's very traumatizing. I can't even talk about it because it's so nasty. But you know, in the Illuminati world, Hollywood, if you're still doing that today, I pray that Lord Jesus Christ, Heavenly Father, that you apprehend these criminals and bring them to justice, the ones who sacrifice babies, rape children, even in the government realm, the government officials, you know. But I don't know about the land of the living, but I'm going to have to testify anyways, because this is what I saw. It's like this huge, massive, worldwide elites. They call themselves, and they molest children, they, you know, sacrifice. It's just nasty, guys. I can't even... But anyways, I gotta testify this so that there's truth and justice to be had in the land.
Megan
Yes,
Fox
drink each
is a
other's blood
demon.
might mislead people, or like people are imagining us with like goblets and we're like Game of Thrones drinking each other. It's just a few drops, but yes, we do consume each other's blood on occasion for ritual purposes. It is used for a reason, and it is controlled, where it's like, let's shed a few drops of blood and each drink it. He's much more haphazard and hectic and chaotic, where he's willing to just like cut his chest open with broken glass and be like, take my soul, let me bleed on you. It doesn't not happen, let me tell you. Maybe not exactly like that, but a version of that has happened many times.
I love babies. Oh yeah, they love sucking babies. I mean, I do too though, because I have an iron deficiency, so this tastes good. Like, have you guys like the taste of blood? Do you? Does anyone here like the taste of blood? Because I like it. I like the taste of blood.
You tell us the secret about Steven Spielberg. He eats babies.
whole babies. And that person happens to be a Hollywood mogul. And that person needs to be exposed, but unfortunately I can't be the one to do it. But the person that knows who did it and knows who he is watching right now, I guarantee you. There was a circle of older men that surrounded themselves.
My brother Jay-Z, Team Rock, Adam Blackstone, Hell's Kitchen, and Most High.
Good evening, godless sodomites. Kneel before your God, Babylon! Making me the highest paid, megalomaniacal boy king in all of Babylon!
You see, if you go and visit the very home of the Oscars, where they held it each year, you can see a plaque on the wall that says the Babylonian Court. The camera shows you the stage, and you see an unmistakable Tower of Babel embedded into the design. Outside the Kodak Theater, you have the gates to Ishtar, and you have Babylonian gods put on the outside of the gates. They have the exact elephants. They have the same exact gate of Ishtar. They have the same exact Babylonian gods over the top of the gates.
People come up here and they thank Jesus for this award. I want you to know that no one had less to do with this award than Jesus.
I'm thankful to the Oscar God.
The other names in the Bible are all gods as far as the category concerned.
When you hit this little golden statue, you become a star. In the Egyptian culture, they also had a little statue that represented the god Ptah. And see, when an Egyptian king died, it was believed that his spirit went into the belt of Orion, and he then became a star. Up until 1999, the Oscars was held at a building called the Shrine, which was founded by William Florence and Walter Fleming, two high-ranking Scottish Rite Freemasons. Hollywood has long been interested in Freemasonry. Gene Autry, John Wayne, Nat King Cole, Duke Ellington, C.C. DeMille, Clark Gable, Walt Disney, Oliver Hardy, you name it, the list goes on. Many celebrities have come out and admitted their connection to Freemasonry. You can see the checkered floor, you can see the archways, you can see the sun motif in the background. All of these are letting you know exactly who owns this organization.
We are the first species on the face of this earth to be aware of evolution, to be aware that we are affecting our own evolution by everything that we do. The babies we eat, the food we eat, the wars we fight, the babies we eat.
People from every background, but they all have one thing in common. They're all terrified of Roman Pharaoh. He's coming for it. He's coming for it. Talking of all you, it was a big year. I'll move this. Shut up. Shut up. I don't care. I don't care. Many talented people of colour were snubbed in major categories. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about that. The Hollywood foreign press are all very, very racist. Fifth time, and it's still more fun than this, okay? Spoiler alert, season 2 is on the way, so in the end, the opportunity didn't sell, just like Jeffrey Epstein. Shut up! I know he's your friend, but I don't care. The next presenter stars in Netflix's Bird Box, a movie where people survive by acting like they don't see a thing. Sort of like working for Harvey Weinstein. You did it, I didn't, you did it.
And the kids were not always enthusiastic about the food that they were being served. So they were always trying to call for pizzas. And you can't order a pizza plate.
We're lucky to come with How was the pizza? Was it good? What, you make pizza was better than food. Everybody made it for a certain kind of thing.
There's no pizza we didn't want something.
Come
back at his house, watch a movie, and he'd order a load of pizzas, you know.
Gerald Ford is not a pedophile per se. He's what I refer to as trisexual. He'll try anything. Any age, anybody, anytime, anywhere, just as long as he had control. Because he had a perversion of power, in addition to his interest in mind control. Therefore, it was Gerald Ford who came out to our house and explained to my father how to raise me in the project according to government specifications. My father had been caught sending this child pornography through the U.S. mails, and therefore he was approached and told that if he sold me into that project, that he would gain immunity from prosecution. My father remains free from prosecution to date for so-called reasons of national security. Once my father agreed to sell me into the project, I was taken routinely to Mackinac Island, Michigan, which is a political retreat where the Michigan governor's mansion is located. It was a bohemian grove of sorts where politicians met and discussed New World Order controls, where they discussed mind control of the masses, mind control in the school systems, how to use occultism as a trauma base. One of my sexual abusers at that time was the Prime Minister of Canada, Pierre Trudeau. Pierre Trudeau is a professed Jesuit. Now, the Jesuits are an intelligence arm of the Catholic Church. Pierre Trudeau represented this criminal faction of the Catholic Church, of the Jesuits, who believed in mind control of the masses because they wanted to be the one world church in the New World Order.
Sure. We happen to have someone who sent us Monica Lewinsky's poem that she wrote in 9th grade. Actually, not in 9th grade, when she was a 9-year-old. And I know I'm going to rot in hell eternally for this, but can I maybe just give it a sample?
Yeah, give a sample.
Okay. It was written, the poem is a poignant rumination on how, quote, I can be a delicious lunch, dinner, or breakfast, if you're weird. She goes on to describe herself, quote, as a round and flat piece of dough with lots of toppings. I am a mouth's best friend. I make you say, yum, yum. It's amazing how kids know at a young age what they're going to do with them.
Christ did not die for Lucifer. He did not cover Lucifer. And there's a hatred for the offspring, enmity with God. There's a hatred that our sons and daughters could choose Jesus and be adopted back to the table which Lucifer once sat at.
it's me. I'm just setting things up, getting ready. Was not quite ready. Not quite prepared. Was my volume set too? Yeah, perfect. I've got a few things lined up. Not standing like I was in the last stream. I didn't feel like it. Tonight's gonna be more of a chill stream than the last one. So I'm just sitting. I'm sitting pretty. Chilling. Alright, alright. Let's see what we got going on in the world. There we go. Just bring that on up. Yeah. Okay. What do I want to take care of first? How about an actual arrest in relation to the Epstein files? That's crazy and unexpected. I don't think it's gonna
cannot
stand.
believe it. I thought this was impossible, like a growth spurt in my 30s. I didn't think this was something that would ever happen here. I feel like I'm 9
Same.
years old and I just watched a birthday party magician pull a quarter out from behind my ear. My mind is blown. Earlier today, former Prince Andrew...
But honestly, that's the guy we've been talking about pretty much the entire time, so it just kind of makes sense that he'd be the guy to go down. We'll see. I'll actually be on board if anybody else goes down. I'm not seeing it happening though.
was arrested following Epstein files revelations. For those that don't know, Prince Andrew was in a lot of the files. There were even pictures as well. Very disturbing stuff. He was a stronger presence in the Epstein files than Obi-Wan Kenobi was in the original Star Wars trilogy. He was in there a lot. And there's been tons of allegations and a lot of evidence and a lot of ties with Epstein. But I think most people, myself included, just didn't expect anything to happen because that's been kind of the protocol recently, where the Trump administration in particular is constantly just telling the American public to move on from it and it's not a big deal, stop caring. Pam Bondi struggles through her lobotomy to try and get a story straight about where she stands with Epstein files on if they exist or if they don't.
Dude, they need to get Pam Bondi out of there. She's just embarrassing herself and the country. Every minute that she speaks, every second. It's terrible. Like, what are we doing here, man?
If they're on her desk or what's going on there. It seems like everyone kind of plugs their ears when Pam Bondi's around and they don't fill her in on the talking points, so her story's never cohesive. The only thing
I think Trump doesn't even actually know what's going on. He just kind of watches Fox News a little bit in the background while he's doing other stuff. And then I think everybody else around him just fills him in, and they're all full of shit.
She sticks to is that Epstein files are all out there and we're done. And there's nothing more to be done about it. Justice has been served with 0 arrests outside of Maxwell.
And there's also more that are outside of the Epstein files, not actually in these Epstein files, because these aren't really the Epstein files.
Well, and of course, Perjury Patel loves to lie about it. Todd Blanche also takes a special kind of joy in letting people know that, yeah, most likely nothing's ever coming from this. It's not a crime to party with Epstein.
Is there any chance that any of these individuals who partied with Epstein and engaged in, relations with minors will be prosecuted? Any chance?
No shot.
I'll never say no, and we will always investigate any evidence of misconduct. But as you know, it is not a crime to party with Mr. Epstein, and so as horrible as it's not a crime to email with Mr. Epstein. And some of these men may have done horrible things, and if we have evidence that allows us to prosecute them, you better believe we will. But it's also the kind of
There's definitely evidence to investigate at the very least, but it seems like they're not even investigating. That's why you investigate, to see if somebody did a crime whenever there's some fishy business obviously going on, and there's evidence of it right plainly in front of our faces, and it gets worse the more we look into it.
A thing that the American people need to understand, that it isn't a crime to party with Mr. Epstein. It isn't a crime to have
Didn't look like that's all that was going on some of those photos. I mean, if the photos could speak, some of them look pretty bad.
That's right. And unfortunately, photos can't speak. And so we need witnesses and we need
Are there videotapes that you all have?
Yeah, there's a lot of videotapes, actually. But according to Todd Blanche in this administration, that's not like actionable evidence. Yeah, there's nothing here. Everyone's making a mountain out of a molehill. But interestingly enough, it seems like
these people are actually sabotaging the Trump administration actively. I don't know if they're doing it on purpose, but either way, if they're doing it maliciously or if they're just incompetent, something needs to be done. They need to get the fuck out of there, man. They need to be removed immediately, replaced.
like other places in the world are taking it more seriously than America is here, this administration. Internationally, there have been a lot of powerful figures that have come under intense scrutiny and have stepped down or been relieved of their position, and now we're seeing Prince Andrew be arrested in the UK for his involvement here in the Epstein files. And
I kind of think that it's a false flag kind of scenario. Well, obviously, I think that he did stuff, but they're gonna take down this guy because he's obvious. Everybody knows that he did stuff.
They're investigating that, seeing what's going on there. That's more than this administration has done. The Trump administration, still 0 fucking arrests outside of Maxwell, whom
I think the Trump administration, at least, is doing less bullshit optics like the UK is. I think that's all it is with the Prince Andrew arrest. It's just optics. And also, they're probably gonna Epstein him while he's locked up. Ain't no way.
they're doing everything in their power to ensure has the most luxurious time in prison possible. Now, normal, sensible people with a functioning frontal lobe are all celebrating that it's an arrest in regards to the Epstein files.
I ain't celebrating it. I guess my frontal lobe isn't functioning.
Finally, hallelujah! That's a pump your fist moment. That's a certified finger-wiggling situation here.
Your hopium is gonna fuck you up, dude, because ain't nothing happening.
But weirdly enough, there's one person who's real tore up about it here. I'm telling you, this guy looks like he's got the suds right now, like fucking SpongeBob. Trump's extremely sad that Prince Andrew got arrested.
I got a question about something big overseas today. The former Prince Andrew arrested by the police there, related to something with Jeffrey Epstein. Do you think people in this country, at some point, associates of Jeffrey Epstein, will wind up in handcuffs too?
Well, you know, I'm the expert in a way because I've been totally exonerated. That's very nice. I can actually speak about it very nicely. I think it's a shame. I think it's very sad. I think it's so bad for the royal family. It's a very, very sad. To me, it's a very sad thing. When I see that, it's a very sad thing to see it and to see what's going on with his brother, who's obviously coming to our country very soon, and he's a fantastic man, the king. So I think it's a very sad thing.
What a fucking odd response. It's sad that
I don't think it's really that odd because that's the kind of people that Trump is worried about. It's like royal people with lots of money. So that's what he's going to go through, is like, this makes the royal family look bad. Yeah, it's not that weird. I mean, for a normal person, it's weird. I don't like that, but whatever. I'm not a Trump guy.
Someone has been arrested in relation to the Epstein files. Why? Why shouldn't they be investigated? Why is this sad? Why is this cause for tears? Like, he looks like...
I think he's just kind of saying that the whole situation is sad, but it was the wrong thing to say. You know, what happened to that energy where he wanted people to be arrested? It just so happens to be rich and powerful people that he's connected to, so he's got something else to say about it.
Like he just watched the ending to Marley and Me. He's looking emotional as shit right now over Prince Andrew's arrest. Why is this something sad? Like, not a single mention of, like, the victims ever from Trump, really. He never really seems to care about the victims in the Epstein case. It's only ever, man, There's a lot of innocent men here that are getting roped into this, and that's the real victims. That's the real sad story. Guys that, you know, just wanted to talk baseball with Epstein and all of that kind of shit, getting labeled nasty stuff. Man, that's the real bitch of it. It's so wild to me that when it comes to Epstein, Trump's MO is move on, it's not a big deal. Yeah, the most infamous child sex trafficker in this nation's history, you know, had a bunch of clients and all of them are getting away with it. Big whoop. Go cry about it. Kick dirt, pussy. Let's move on. It's nothing that anyone should ever care about. You know, all the rape, the torture, the murder, all of that stuff, it's not a big deal. That's small potatoes. Get over it. And then when someone like Prince Andrew gets arrested in regards to it, he's like, oh, no, that's sad. That's really sad. We need to take a moment of silence.
Definitely
here. That's
bad
sad
look.
stuff. Please, won't everyone play a sad song on the world's smallest violin for Prince Andrew? This is a really heartbreaking scenario here. It's like watching an ASPCA commercial. I couldn't believe it. I shan't believe it when I saw Prince Andrew was arrested. Oh, my...
I agree with Charlie, but I don't think that's something really to focus on. I know that Trump's the president, but this is kind of a non-issue, I don't think Trump gives a shit, so I don't think it really, I don't think it's, I think the reason Trump doesn't want all this stuff to come out is because it's bad for money. It's bad for the market, for all of the people who control the market to come out as pedophiles, and he knows that, and he's trying to use the market in order to get things that he wants to do done, and such as the oil rigs in Venezuela. Got to have the stock market working in order for that to get done, because you need as much money as possible.
Lord, an entire tissue box was expended wiping the tears from my eyes. What a weird response. It's very clear this administration is desperately trying to do everything in its power to distract and deflect from the Epstein files and try and minimize just how important this is, how big of a...
Yeah, they don't want it to affect the money. It's going to affect the economy and the culture. They don't want that. And honestly, if we're going to have a culture that's based on that, I say let it burn.
Deal this is. And now he's trying to sell you on this pile of dog shit here that it's like a bad thing that Prince Andrew's been arrested. And I guess maybe for Trump and his friends it is a bad thing, because there's a chance Prince Andrew might start squealing. He might let the cat out of the bag and could implicate some other very powerful people in relation to Epstein. So maybe that's why he's so tore up about it. It's just so fucking crazy that he doesn't even try and hide it. And he doesn't need to. His fan base will absolutely just swallow his whole cock at all times for anything at all.
A stunning royal arrest. Former Prince Andrew taken into custody from his home in the English countryside. It follows growing revelations about the alleged connections between the...
People who are like always Trumpers are in the same cult as the never Trumpers, the people with TDS on the left, the leftoid freaks I call them. Same camp. They're just on opposite sides.
Late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein and Andrew, the former Duke of York and brother of King Charles. Thames Valley police saying the arrest was on suspicion of misconduct in public office.
This seems like they're pursuing it pretty seriously. I imagine an investigation is underway where I would again get...
Yeah, they're gonna kill him. There's no way he survives. They're not gonna let him actually talk. And if he does talk, they're not gonna say what he said.
Guess that they find a lot of evidence on Prince Andrew and Epstein's connections and some really fucking horrible, heinous shit.
You
now,
think
I've
they'll
got a
actually
little
find
hunch
anything?
There's a little someone special out there that's also starting to sweat profusely after seeing this news of Prince Andrew's arrest. Victoria Hervey. Victoria Hervey had a relationship with Prince Andrew quite a while ago, and she's got a very interesting take on Epstein.
That was very powerful. So like if you were on the scene and you were powerful, like to be honest, like if you're not in those files, it would be an insult because it just means that you were a bit of a loser.
Right, so the people who aren't in the files are losers.
Yes.
Okay.
That's crazy.
Are you in the files?
Well, of course I am, because it's any journalist that wrote about it.
That's an astonishing attitude, isn't it? You're the loser because you're not in this. I find that jaw-dropping.
They're just so brazen now. With her whole chest, she says it would be an insult if you weren't invited to party with Epstein. You're a loser if you didn't party with Epstein.
Police have been looking into emails in which Andrew apparently shared confidential government information with Epstein. The
Yeah,
latest
no
batch
shit.
of released files showing Andrew forwarded
These people
reports
thought they
about
were better
foreign
than the world.
countries and trade opportunities to Epstein in 2010 when he was serving as a UK trade envoy.
Damn.
But the scandal has been growing for years.
That clip they show in the segment right there where someone said, "How long have you known about Andrew and Epstein?" and the crowd like erupts in shock and awe and disgust. Like they're upset that someone said something about it. That blew my mind. Like, is everyone there just okay with it? They all rolled their eyes collectively like, "Oh, here we go, Epstein again. Can you just let it go? We're trying to ignore it." Like, what the fuck? What I'm hoping I'm having like a bad read on what happened there, but I think it came across pretty clear that the people there were not too pleased to hear Epstein's name brought up there. They'd rather just pretend that it's not real, I guess, which is crazy.
Bad for the market, bad for the culture, like I said, and also a lot of people are implicated. A lot of people have done stuff that haven't been mentioned. Like everybody that's been mentioned in the Epstein files. Oh, there's more. There's more.
And that's exactly what so many of these powerful politicians that have engaged in these unthinkable evil acts want. And people, just sheep, are okay with it. They're like, "Oh my God, look at this guy who went out of line and said something about Epstein and Andrew. This is crazy. Can someone shun that guy? Can we get him out of here?"
With other allegations, including of sexual misconduct against Andrew, including from Epstein victim Virginia Roberts Giuffre, seen in this picture with Andrew. The prince asked about it in an infamous interview in 2019.
She described dancing with you and you profusely sweating, and that she went on to have a bath, possibly.
There's a slight problem with the sweating.
He doesn't sweat.
I have a
How convenient.
medical condition, which is that I don't sweat.
That one is a
Dude, that's so crazy. I mean, I guess you're gonna try everything if nothing else is gonna work. I don't sweat, or at least I didn't at the time. That's so insane. And it's such, like, it'd be so convenient if that came out to actually be true.
timeless Prince Andrew classic. That one is an iconic moment from Prince Andrew's time on Earth. I actually made a video on that 6 years ago.
That's how you know that these people are completely brain dead retarded. Because they don't know how to defend themselves. They think that they're smart enough to be the rulers of the world, but then they come up with brain dead responses like that.
His defense was, this couldn't have happened. This is a big bold lie. This is a fib because well, I don't sweat. Even though there is so much proof of him sweating, this guy sweats. He's a fucking sweater. He sweats a lot, actually. It was the wackiest
Sweating up a storm.
But again, he got away with it until very recently, it seems. And I guess it's not even clear if he hasn't got away with it. He's been arrested, but he's not, in jail or anything yet. They're still investigating. So, it's possible he still gets away with it. But for all of this time, he hadn't even been arrested or anything. So even, the worst fucking lie ever to protect himself about not sweating was enough. It's just so blatantly corrupt across the globe. They don't even bother trying to hide any of this or even cover it up at all.
Nothing's gonna be done about it.
And people just excuse it. They just let it go. Like in that clip a moment ago, where someone brings up Andrew and Epstein and everyone's like, "Fuck you, buddy. I'm busy being a blind worshiper of this political figure. Come on, man. I'm busy trying to not think for myself." It's so sad and scary. Now, anyway, in America, obviously there haven't been any Epstein-related arrests since Maxwell, of course, and if Todd Blanche and the rest of the administration...
Supposedly, Miss Maxwell was arrested. Who knows? Those photos of her looking a little different, those are a little sus,
is anything to go by, it doesn't seem like they're interested at all in pursuing anything Epstein-related with clients or co-conspirators, anything like that. It doesn't seem like they're actually pursuing justice in any way, shape, or form. They're trying to hammer home the point that you shouldn't care about it, get over it. They are literally saying that. So it doesn't seem like there's any arrests coming to anyone there. And there have been a couple of very powerful people that have lost some of their positions at the corporations that they were a part of as a result of the Epstein files due to public pressure and scrutiny. So there have been some people that stepped down here, but again, no investigations, no arrests or anything like that. So it looks like they're still getting away with it. Even though they might not be at those mega corporations anymore, they still have unfathomable wealth and are not punished for their involvement in these Epstein files and all of their fucking crimes or anything. The administration is not interested in pursuing it, it seems. But who knows, maybe Prince Andrew's arrest is the first domino to fall, and we'll see tons more arrests of these evil, vile people that are pulling the strings behind the curtain, that have gotten away with this evil for so long. Now, I want to put a little bonus clip in here because something else has just recently happened. A new name, well, I guess not a new name, but more information has come out with about Leslie Wexner and his involvement in the Epstein case, and a very interesting moment has just unfolded as he was being asked questions.
It was just regularly done. Answer another question. 5 words, okay?
What did he say?
His lawyer there said, "I will fucking kill you if you answer another question with more than 5 words, okay?" And then Les Wexner starts giggling about it. Do they teach that in law school? Is that part of the bar? I don't know if I've ever seen that strategy there from a lawyer. That's pretty alarming, I would think, right? Maybe? Yeah? I mean, come on. That's peculiar, right?
Especially in this situation.
To be saying something like that? Now, this is in an Epstein deposition. He also said some very fascinating stuff about Rothschild. Like, this had quite a bit in it, but this moment right here was...
Rothschild is just all over everything. Why are we not investigating that at least? You know, stuff that's in the Epstein files, also outside the Epstein files. Everybody knows that the Rothschilds is evil. If you look at history, it's been nothing but evil. Why are we still letting Rothschilds do anything? It should be actually illegal for anybody with the name Rothschild in their family history to be able to do anything that has anything to do with power or money.
Was by far the most odd. I would think most people would see this, hear this, and immediately recognize, okay, this is fishy. Anyway, though, Prince Andrew being arrested is good news. Don't let Trump fool you into thinking that it's sad news. An arrest finally...
I think it's fake news. I think it's not actually anything. I think it's not real.
Being made in regards to Epstein... Oh my goodness. Like, maybe we can actually start getting punishment for some of these fucking monsters out there and learn who else is a part of it. Like, this, I think this is a good thing, the arrest of Prince Andrew. Well, I should have seen this coming. Prince Andrew has been released.
Well, that didn't last long. It didn't even last the whole fucking video. Come on, man. I get proven right. Every time I get proven right. Like, I'm rarely ever wrong about these things. Because I always say when it comes to these powerful people that they're just going to pretend to do things. They're going to run it through the news, get those good headlines, get some good clicks so they can make some quick bucks. And then they release them. And they don't do nothing.
That didn't last very long. They got him in there and then they said, okay, time's up. He's still under investigation, supposedly, but yeah, he's not being held or anything. He was arrested, but he's now released. The investigation, supposedly ongoing. I made this video, like everything you've watched up until this point, I made this afternoon, and now this news is just now breaking about him being released, so definitely need to include that in here. I'm hoping that they're taking the investigation seriously, though I'm now skeptical because... Well, I mean, they already let him go. That was very quick. He was there for a couple hours, maybe. He went in there, took a nap, and then went home, I guess. Well, that's the latest update on the Prince Andrew arrest. All right, well, that's really about it. See ya.
Well, sweet. Yep, it seems like absolutely everything that I said was gonna happen is happening, which is nothing. Nothing's gonna happen. everything bad is going to happen and nothing bad is going to happen to the people doing the bad things. And that's how it goes. And that's how it's going to be until the end of time. And we just start anew. Okay, what else we got going here? Get into some High Guard news, because that game just completely did everything that I thought it was gonna do. Actually, once again, rarely ever wrong. When I calls them as I sees them, it all fits the pattern, man.
I think we all know it, but I may as well just say it. High Guard is a game living on borrowed time. And that's time that it earned because the leadership team fired most of the development team that built the damn game. And now the fear is that the game is in a death spiral, the type of...
This game is actually really good, guys. I don't get all the hate on it. It's actually really fun.
Which it won't be able to recover from. Because whenever people see layoffs like this, they don't really feel like investing their time, their energy, and their money into a game that just may not be there. It only took 16 days after launch for the layoffs to happen, and since that happened...
Dude, that is a near Concord level failure. Called it. Love to see it. The entire internet called it. I don't know why so many people just constantly want to eat dicks, but we're proven right every time. They just love eating dicks. They don't even play video games. They just want to start trouble online. They're addicted to drama, I guess.
Well, things have only got worse, at least for their PR, and now there's even a new 10-cent shaped question hanging over everything in this story. So we have a lot to talk about. 16 days after launch, High Guard developer Wildlight Entertainment began laying off staff. People posted on LinkedIn saying that, quote, most of the team was gone. Wildlight then confirmed it, stating that they decided to, quote, part ways with a number of our team members while keeping a core group of developers to continue innovating on and supporting the game. One of the people let go, a level designer called Alex Grainer, was a bit more blunt. He said, this one really stings. There was a lot of unreleased content that I and others had designed for High Guard. So what we see in that is there is lots of content that exists on the servers that team has, and the skeleton crew that remains can probably ship that content. But obviously, there's concerns for the future. Concerns that only got bigger when the game's website went down. For many people, especially seeing even the site go down, it was a clear trend that High Guard was firmly on the way out and would be dead. Though it turns out it's not dead, at least in that way, because one of the remaining devs explained to their Discord that the website was being, quote, transferred and simplified by the...
Don't worry, guys. We're going to keep the game going. We're going to keep updating it. We're not going to stop. And then they're going to Halo Infinite the shit out of it, and when they're just going to basically not update it. They're going to pretend they're updating it, and they're just going to update the store pretty much with some, oh, well, we got this firefight mode that's just not as good as the original firefight. It's just like a horde mode where you fight a few waves of enemies and go to a few points, and that's it. Fun Halo fighting.
That was low priority, and the reputational damage of their site going down was already done. A little bit rough. I mean, talk about someone being kicked whenever they're down. So, the remaining staff then are simply going to be working on improving the game, shipping whatever content that they can, and that's actually why they just shipped another base, another gadget, and a little bit more importantly for the old bottom line, some new cosmetics and bundles. Though with everything going on, I don't really know if players will feel able to invest to buy those cosmetics and bundles, even if they like the game. And the only way that'll...
It's like I said, it's always with the cosmetics and the fucking bundles. Stop it. Just stop doing that shit. Focus on something else. You are focusing too much on all of that shit. And that's how you make the money. Well, you're failing. Your games are failing. You're not making any money if you don't have any games, if you don't have any players.
Change is leadership from this team just coming out and saying, listen, this is the situation, this is how long we can run for, you know, all of those things, so that people don't feel like there's a massive air of uncertainty over even supporting the game, which is a bad place to be if you're someone who likes that game and wants to support it. you just won't feel like you can. And obviously, there are loads of opinions.
I think there was only about maybe 12,000 people who liked it. There were like 3,000 people on Steam who liked it. And who knows how many people on the consoles. And maybe less, maybe a little bit more, but I figure it's probably about the same amount.
Flying around, from commenters to devs to publishers, just people trying to talk about this game and work out why it did not work. Was it too niche? Was it the art style? Was it the Game Awards? Is it all just Jeff Keighley's master plan for chaos? Who knows? And the thing is, you look at some of the peaks, like launch day, and you wonder how a game could perform, air quotes, so well, and then need to lay off the majority of staff within a month. Maybe that's because launch day isn't everything. So Highguard had nearly 100,000 concurrents on Steam at launch, but we now know the success likely went further because according to Ampere data, and reported by the Game Business, 1.54 million people played the game across all platforms in the 2 days of January, putting it on par with existing games like Palworld, DayZ, and Red Dead Redemption 2. And across the whole month, Circana ranked it in the top 10 for US Steam that week and the top 20 for console. For any new launch, especially in indie, that's incredible. And you may think, 100,000 concurrents? 1.54 million players? This doesn't compute. Well, remember what concurrency is. It's just concurrency. If you play the game for an hour or two in launch evening, then you're going to be one of that 1.54 million, even if...
And everybody wanted to try this game out. Everybody wanted to see how much of a disaster it was. Everybody wanted to be a part of the new Concord and watch the downfall, and everybody jumped on, and I watched as people were just kind of bored. Like Concord was. It was boring. That's the reason it failed. It wasn't that it was gay. It wasn't that it was woke. It was that it sucked. And it was boring. And nobody wanted to play it. And it was based on microtransactions. That's all it was. It was just like a fucking storefront with a game attached to it. To justify the fact that there's a storefront that exists.
You're not one of the current, well, concurrents, right? So a lot of people. But then it hit 15,000 concurrents on Steam by week 2. And for many, that was a clear sign of failure. People bouncing off because of server issues, bugs, or the gameplay just not landing. But here's the thing. That first week isn't really the moment to look at. Even though that first week had some little glimmers. You saw that if people played for more than 2 hours, the reviews were way more positive. Which is to be expected, but I think what is interesting is the sheer quantity of those positive reviews. Yes, the Steam score was really bad, but the number of reviews in total was humongous, so even though positive was not as large a percentage as I'm sure the devs would have wanted, it was still quite a lot of people. But even with all that, it's Episode 2's launch on the 6th of February. That's the thing we need to talk about.
A lot of that positive sentiment for the game was manufactured, especially with so much negative sentiment around it. There were people trying to counteract it by just bullshitting. Like they pretended they liked the game. They did it for views and clicks because it's easy to play a boring game and pretend you like it when you're getting paid a lot of money to do it. Because like even if you're not getting paid by somebody, you're getting paid in ad revenue from people who are also trying to glaze the game that aren't playing it. And it's just this weird cycle of people just gaslighting themselves into liking something that they're not even engaged with just because there are people saying they don't like it and it looks like trash. And a bunch of people are saying, no, you're stupid. No, well, maybe. And they get all mad that there are people that are saying they don't like it. And it making it worse, honestly. Don't glaze games. Don't do that. It makes it worse. It does not help whenever you counteract people who are hating on games. Let them hate on it. And if the game is good, then they're going to get shit on anyway. Because everybody's not going to pay attention to them.
It had maps, mounts, quality of life, a new hero that had some kind of neat movement, turns into a wolf, does wolfy things, but it peaked at 8,500 concurrents. That's a weaker show, but it's not an unhealthy player count for an indie multiplayer game. Because when you're an indie, the revenue that you get, minus any platform fees, is...
Problem is, it's not an indie game. It was made by AAA devs, and it had AAA money and AAA backing. Backed by Tencent, no less. Nobody even knew that. I think they tried to hide that, tried to not let anybody know that China was behind this woke factory. Which I was saying the entire time, that all this woke shit, it's like foreign actors are getting in to actively destroy culture so they can implement their own culture and make all the money. because if they make the good things and they're destroying the things that they don't want to make money, but they're secretly invested in, then they can implement all the things that they want.
Yours. It doesn't go to a publisher, so you are operating fundamentally at a, well, higher degree of financial efficiency. So they don't need as many people to sustain themselves. And that's actually why concurrent player count is not the real story here. No, it isn't. Because regardless of numbers at launch, Wildlight leadership will have had targets for daily average players and spending that they would have expected to retain. Player count dropping is very much expected.
It might not go away, but I think it's just going to be another one of those free-to-play games that's going to be mixed reviews on Steam, that's going to be in the list of free-to-play games that I'm never going to install.
But the problem is the trend line. Yes, in terms of
I can't install it anyway. It doesn't work on Linux. They locked me out.
Player count, but perhaps far more so in the one thing that we don't have data for, and that is the literal amount of money. Although I think we can say that the lack of incoming funds absolutely was their big problem. Now let me explain. The first season pass was actually free. There were minimal cosmetics to purchase, so the game launched in a fairly unmonetized state. That's fine and expected. Make your launch as big as possible and give people not really a lot to scrutinize. The second season pass was not free, it was paid. It went live on February 6th, and 6 days after it went live, the layoffs started. You see, Episode 2 and the paid Battle Pass were Wildlight's first real chance to make money. Player counts are only half the story. You can't pay your devs with a player count. You need money. Now, maybe leadership's goals were absurd, expecting players to show up at the rates of a AAA shooter.
Yeah, that is a great point that I've been saying the whole time, that they don't really need the player count if the amount of players they have are whales. If they have a few whales that are paying for everything, that are willing to buy everything, then they can sustain themselves. Problem is, you still need players to do that. If you have a low player count, you're not getting whales. They're going to be in other games. Also, if you're not getting a high player count, that means you're not going to be doing very well at counteracting cheaters. With these low player count games, you're going to have a lot of cheaters. The percentage is going to be a lot higher because you're not going to have the funds, you're not going to have the teams, you're not going to have the capability of getting rid of them.
Maybe, though, they would have been happy with the Season 2 numbers in terms of players. But in a free-to-play game, player counts are only as good as the percentage of those people that actually convert into being payers. In less scrupulous games, that's why they hook you in with dark monetization patterns right off the bat. And it's why those dark monetization patterns tend to be related to player power or significant in-game friction.
I don't play games that have microtransactions whatsoever. I can't think of any games that I play that have microtransactions. I think Where Winds Meet has microtransactions, but I've never seen them. I've never seen a storefront.
We see that all over the mobile game space. And even with that, it is often said that it's over 30 days, 35 days to convert someone from a player to a payer. And that is in a mobile game using all of the dark patterns. Obviously, for a game like this that isn't using those dark patterns, it's probably going to take longer. And that's why slashing your team to pieces only 6 days after most people have an opportunity to even spend money in your game shows that something's went really wrong. Now, obviously, that first free Battle Pass was an attempt to earn the good graces of gamers by delaying monetization, but it could have also meant that people had no buy-in to stay with the game. And we certainly know that conversion of players to payers just didn't really happen at a meaningful scale, and it seems that they ran out of runway. Now, runway is how much money a business has before it stops operating. Run out of runway and, the plane crashes. Here's where it's interesting. As highlighted by GameFile, Highguard, like most games released right now, was funded in the post-pandemic boom. You see, back then, money was cheap, interest rates were pretty much zero, and that meant that it was fairly easy for anyone with a whole bunch of access to capital to just take a punt on a bunch of developers. Now, Tencent was one of the groups doing this, and you'll have seen many other megacorps as well, like, say, NetEase. Now, Tencent led the funding rounds for Wildlight when money was cheap and easy to offer, and it's reported that they led the funding rounds for Wildlight through their TiMi division. TIMI, you may have seen the logo before. But what's important here is they don't actually own the studio, right? So this is still an independent studio in terms of its ownership structure. Although, yes, some equity probably will have been given up. It's probably a situation like that. So Tencent then were seemingly one of the largest financial backers, but they don't have majority ownership of the company. That means they're not in control of the company. So at best, they're a minority shareholder, like they are with many other studios, like say Larian. Now, maybe Tencent's investment came with an option to convert into ownership if the company succeeded, but obviously it didn't. But that stuff was going on in 2022, back when the team was 28 people and, quote, fully funded. 2026 is a different story. Now, Tencent funded the team until launch. That seems like a pretty simple sentence, doesn't it? But there's actually a lot inside it. Because are they funding it to the intended launch of the game when it's in a perfect state and ready to go? Or is it that the development team received a certain amount of money and they've now just had to ship the game whenever the money has ran out? That's the thing. Projects can be uncertain, things can be delayed, and quite often, if a game is failing at...
You know, that would make sense if they were getting money from China, that they were just like, well, we ran out of money. Game's not finished. We can't just not release it, so we're just gonna have to release it as is and finish it up as much as we can. Oh shit, there's like nothing in this game. Okay, use the rest of the money to do marketing. And then they were like, oh, we don't have any money, so no marketing. Let's talk to Jeff Keighley. Maybe Jeff Keighley can just say something at the Game Awards.
Launch, it's often because it wasn't supposed to launch that way. It's rather that the budget ran out, and they basically had to ship whatever the hell they had.
And that's why there was no marketing when this game came out. Is because the budget ran out. They literally had no budget for the marketing.
Highguard shipped. The alternative was probably going bust and having absolutely nothing to show for it. And that's the rough position that so many companies end up in. But of course, with the game being out, it would need to hit a certain revenue per month to actually pay the devs who are building it. They need to be bringing enough money in to actually start projecting their revenue, work out their cash flow, all the things that you need to do to support an ongoing live service. And those things obviously did not look good. That meant the leadership were faced with a choice. They could keep everyone on and work for as long as money lasts. Maybe that could have been weeks, who knows? Maybe they could have hoped to turn it around. The other option is to radically downsize the team, because in doing that, whatever money they've got and whatever money they bring in will go far, far longer, and obviously they chose the latter. But that does have consequences. The studio may exist for longer, but a game performing layoffs this close to launch, yes, it hurts the devs who have got to keep delivering the game, but it also shakes the confidence.
It's going to be one of those down the list free-to-play games, or they're going to shut it down in a year after the contract for it to exist is up. There's probably all kinds of licensing deals and stuff, so this game kind of has to exist now.
Of players who don't want to invest in something that's basically obviously unstable. Now evidently there's some interest and projected revenue, enough to try and keep things going. It could be that they're not getting a lot of money, but maybe they think it's enough to keep on whatever team they've got. We just don't know yet because we don't have the hard numbers. But here's the thing, this is just one story, one example. It's an example of something that is going on absolutely everywhere in this industry. And a big reason is that the games market is completely different now to how it was whenever Highguard started development. The development of this game started in 2022. By launch, they had grown to about 100 developers. Now, even in an era where smaller teams are being pitched as the solution to everything, well, that's not a lot of people for a live service game. Because to keep up pace with a live service game, you just do need a shitload of people. If you've ever wondered why live service games seem really slow to change in big, meaningful ways, it's essentially that reason. But unlike the AAA live services they'd be competing against, well, there's no publisher for Highguard. There's no other revenue stream to pick up the slack, and in 2026, clearly no funding partner to step in and take a punt on them. The new normal is fairly simple then. If a bet made in the post-pandemic era fails, the studio just dies. I mean, Highguard failing to sell passes and microtransactions already does basically mean that they're stuck, that they can't really make more money. All they can do is save money by cutting away their team and hoping they can make the line go up later. Now you may be thinking, surely...
You think they can make that line go up? I don't think they got it. I don't think they got this in the bag. And even when they do, or if they do, then they're just gonna have to make more money. That's how it works with these companies. Like, you got to keep making more and more and more money. When they finally get lucky and they make money, then they have to keep making more and more money in the next thing. So then it's eventually just gonna fail anyway.
This wouldn't be a problem if the launch of your game correlated with you getting money, such as by charging for the game. You could look at Arc Raiders. That's a game that did that, launched as a paid product. That would have helped with the upfront money. It would have helped with buy-in because, funnily enough, people who have bought a game are people who are willing to hand over money. They'll actually convert better into ongoing payers. Well, as good as that may sound, they didn't have a big brand. They didn't have other revenue streams. They didn't have the big publisher backing that, say, Arc Raiders had with Nexon. And clearly, in terms of launch quality, they did not have what they would need to justify a price tag. So even if a price tag could have helped their immediate financial position, it wouldn't have worked. I think a big thing is, yes, if you put a price tag in your game and it launches with immediate, amazing product market fit, boom, you're minted. Helldivers, Arc Raiders. But if you launch with a price tag and you haven't achieved product market fit, you're just going to be immediately executed. Take a look at Concord. It's a perfect example of that. Now, we see other games like, say, Spectre Divide that have tried to come into this shooter space as a free-to-play and have not worked. We fundamentally haven't seen big sustained successes here, and in the previous video we did in Highguard, we talked about a bunch of other shooters, some of which are really, really good, that had came out and that people were completely unaware of. Now, when we take a look at the games that are more successful, like Marvel Rivals or Arena Breakout Infinite, slick title there, chaps, well, those are succeeding off the backs of humongous investments at a scale designed to peel players away from whatever their game of choice is. Now, there are niche titles like Supervive or Mecha Break that have got great reviews, but even their player counts are dwindling. And like everything else about Highguard, there is no one solution to suggest here.
I seem to always go back to games that I like playing, and like sometimes I'll end up getting into some new game for a little bit, but I always end up going right back to games like Terraria. Then I'll go back to games that I haven't played before that came out in the past that I like, because old games I think are just better, because new games are all trying to be the biggest and best looking, and I'm not into it, man. I want heart and soul, and I want fun, and it doesn't have to be the biggest and best looking and modern. I like DOS games, man. I like to play DOS games. I don't think I think they lost the plot. I don't think they understand that we don't have to have everything look realistic.
Though I do have a few. And as leadership cuts this team down, the real takeaway is that even compared to a decade ago, second chances do not exist. And it's all contributed to something I see in the comments, something that I feel myself. Where the fuck's all this money going? Like, what is actually the deal? Why does the games industry look like this these days? And you know what? I think I have a few answers. And I have to say thanks to Highguard because it helped me get to them. Okay, I've got a fundamental belief about games in this space. I think they are played a bit more like sports. So a League of Legends player could be playing League for like 10 years. And it doesn't matter to them that there isn't a humongous, fundamentally crazy new amount of content or a new amazing campaign to get immersed in, because they're playing League like it's a sport. The same thing goes for Counter-Strike. Same thing went for Overwatch in some ways. It goes for other games like your Rainbow Six Sieges. Basically, those competitive, kind of default multiplayer team shooter games. What I think has happened is our industry has looked at those games being successful and it's tried to fight for those players, right? So say Ubisoft trying to fight Call of Duty, trying to fight them for their own players. Now I understand doing that. And if you're a big AAA, you have all the money in the earth, maybe you can actually pull that off. But for everyone else, it does seem a bit silly. It's like, you know, a whole bunch of people play this ball game called football, which I know can mean several things depending on where you are in the world, but whatever. It's like seeing that and thinking, this is great market validation that people enjoy ball-based, team-based sports. Okay, we're going to design and launch one with a humongous team, and we're going to peel away fans of football to our new game. If I put it like that, it would seem absolutely preposterous, because these are games, but they're games that people play more like they're a sport, like they're that kind of default thing. So I think the games industry has spent inordinate amounts of money basically just trying to do that, trying to dethrone incumbents. But when I look at the games industry over the scale of decades, I think what you see is that that's the wrong thing to do. You don't try to kill the current incumbent by tweaking a few things and launching something of the same genre. You don't dethrone Coca-Cola by having a slightly different formulation of Coca-Cola. No, you get...
Yeah, but you're gonna have companies that damn well try, and they fail. Or they become the generic brand that poor people get just because they want the taste of some kind of soda.
That's some sort of new drink, cool thing that the market hasn't seen, that pulls people away from Coke because your offering is new, genuinely different. I think that is why so many of these games have failed. Spectre Divide, Counter-Strike, but a bit different. Valorant, Counter-Strike, but a bit different. But with Riot money, Riot backing. The scale factors that an indie team like this one just obviously could not pull off. But even with that said, there is a new, modern thing to think about. And that is how immediate success is almost needed. You see, years ago, Fortnite and Rainbow Six Siege genuinely struggled with their launches, but they found their feet and they became industry giants. Basically, they had the funding they needed to grow through the rocky periods and to find product market fit whenever their game was there as a live thing. It literally took time. But in this case, that's obviously not possible. And we can think why it isn't possible. And there's a very obvious reason. They literally couldn't afford to do it. So we then need to ask ourselves, how could they have afforded to do it? And here's my contention. A bunch of developers with AAA skills, AAA, norms, because that is just where they worked, tried to dethrone AAA. Okay? Now they did that by making a game that looks and feels AAA. Like the fidelity of the models, even some of the art style things. Yeah, it's trying to take on AAA.
Yeah, that's how you beat them. You take the thing that they're trying to make and you downsize it. And you make what people actually want instead of making what you think everybody wants.
AAA by looking and feeling like a AAA. But the problem is, that's really goddamn hard and expensive to do. All of those models, all of those skins, that takes a lot of money and a lot of time. And the higher your fidelity is, generally speaking, the harder it is to iterate and iterate and iterate. Which maybe means that the high guard that we got is just a bit of a plan that they felt locked into. Now, in another world, where they chose an art style that wasn't as high fidelity, one where they didn't decide to be independently AAA, but rather decided to be an independent that can become AAA. Maybe if they more fully embraced what being an independent studio means, especially financially, then they could have pulled it off. But equally, maybe it wasn't possible because of their funding. A lot of venture capital money is going into games in this period of time. Those types of VC bets are not designed for sustainable growth. They are designed for real big fucking humongous fast growth whenever the damn thing launches. And that would mean that they would probably only be able to get funding by saying, we're going to make a AAA looking game that can compete with AAAs, just that instead of all of the money going to our old friends at Electronic Arts, they'll be going to us and to you, Mr. Venture Backer. And by the way,
yeah, and we're heading toward a world like this because it's becoming easier and easier to make the games that we actually want, because nobody actually wants these over-the-top realistic AAA games that all look the same. We can pull it back a little bit because people don't actually want the same game over and over again. They want things to look different. They want an escape from reality, and a lot of times to escape from reality, you pull back away from reality and simplify it because you just want certain experiences. You don't want all the experiences, otherwise you would just be in reality.
As people who have ran big AAA live service games, here's how the finances of them work. Look at this, isn't it fantastic? Perhaps you can see how the funding model of games fundamentally defines what those games can be. And that perhaps is one of the reasons why this whole post-pandemic boom type of just wave of games has felt the way that it has. And now what will happen is those laid off devs will either decide to go back into AAA, where it'll be extremely hard to get a job, and where that will be getting a job, at the big behemoth that they wanted to leave, right? Not wanting to be under the yoke of one of those megacorps. And yes, it is the case that Wildlight was never some tiny little self-funded indie, absolutely. But even though they'll have got funding from a bunch of those external partners, the company still is responsible for itself, right? It still is certainly a lot more independent than if you were working in a studio that was wholly owned by a big AAA publisher. So they'll either have to go back to that, or just, go to a different industry, which probably won't be good. Those people are certainly capable of fantastic things, just in another environment. Look at, say, Expedition 33. For all the grief that people give Ubisoft, Well, Expedition 33 is a bunch of Ubisoft people.
I still haven't played it.
A bunch of people for whom it was their first job in the industry. And I think that shows that whenever the kind of working conditions, the scope, the budget, and all those things are well aligned for a game, people really can cook and do their best work. In this situation, they just weren't able to cook for long enough because of the type of game they were trying to make. You know, let's just take on EA and all the live service things. Pretty hard, right? But you know what's also hard? Having general broad spectrum trust in the world and in things such as Discord.
And you know, you think the people who made Expedition 33 can do it again? You think they can pull that off again? I don't know. Maybe I still haven't played Expedition 33, so I don't know what kind of scale that game is even on. But like, can they pull off something that scale again? Or are they going to have to downsize? I hope they downsize, honestly, because trying to do something bigger and better than the last thing, that's what everybody tries to do, and that's how you end up failing, because eventually you hit a ceiling. Instead, how about you just make a whole bunch of smaller experiences? You know, it doesn't have to be the biggest and the best. It can be just good enough. And just have like a small little audience. But no, everybody always got to have the biggest, widest audience. And it just enshittifies everything, because that's not what regular consumers want. Let's put, nope. The moment she realized her life was ruined, no. About this whole Shia LaBeouf situation. That whole situation's crazy. Woke Hollywood fears extinction. And you know, I hope that everything falls apart around them. I hate Hollywood. I hate everybody in Hollywood. Hollywood is just full of creeps. I hear stories all the time, and then I hear more stories and more stories. And a bunch of the shows and movies that I used to watch as a kid, I just can't watch them anymore. It's terrible, because I know what happened behind the scenes with like Drake and Josh, iCarly, Zoe 101. It's craziness.
This used to be such a prominent meme, but now that because of the rise of AI, we're kind of left. We don't have to just imagine it anymore, or we don't have to rely on sequence of images and text anymore. We can just see it in a video perspective, which I feel is really funny.
We need to build more data centers. AI needs it.
To cure cancer, right?
Yeah, this used to be a meme. It used to be a static meme, but now it's because of the rise of AI tech. It's now in video form.
We're curing cancer.
We're curing cancer.
Right?
We need to...
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Crazy. No, we're using AI to cure cancer or make it better for everyone, or people get better jobs. But you know, we're using it for our RAM is getting more expensive for these kinds of things. It just, I don't know. I don't know what. I have a mixed bag with AI. You know, it's like, on one hand, it's helped me a lot too in my kind of work.
If AI makes it to where it's hard for people to use new computers, it's literally not gonna affect me, because for one, I have so many old computers that run all the games that I want to run that it's not gonna affect me at all. Unless, you know, we don't have any more computers at all for the rest of my life. Otherwise, I think I'm good. Because, like, I'm playing Terraria. All of my computers can run games like Terraria. They can all run Skyrim. I'm pretty sure they can all run Cyberpunk. The least my computers could run, or it'd probably be like 30 frames per second. On, like, I don't know, medium settings. Other than, obviously, my, like, DOS computers and stuff. Windows XP, that's not going to be able to run that.
But at the same time, is it really that much of a boon to most other people? Can people really capitalize it for the...
I know AI is going to destroy a lot of industries that I hate. And they are the ones who did it to themselves because they tried to cash in on AI. We got to keep up. And then the AI that they're building destroys them. Love it.
Sometimes it's for
We tried to tell them. We tried to warn them. They didn't listen.
stuff like this. You know, don't get me wrong, it's nice and it's funny, but at the same time, it's like, is it really worth it at the cost of, like, you know, increased prices or the potential death of having our own hardware? So I don't know. But anyway, it's like, it's inevitable. It's the future. But yeah, it's just funny. This has been making the rounds. When I woke up this morning, it's like, what is the code is try not to laugh. No,
I think we're still going to have our own hardware. I think it'll eventually fix itself and we'll go back to the 80s and the 90s. And we'll have better versions of the 80s and the 90s, most likely. Early 2000s. We're going to go back to all of that. We're not going to have all the fancy technology that we've had in the past decade that really we kind of just didn't need. It was a little bit too much, you know? We were perfect. We were perfectly fine for just a little while. Like maybe 6 years. I think it was fine in the digital world. Like people were bitching about stuff. There was stuff to be angry at. But in comparison to today, like we didn't have any kind of problems, man.
There was another one that I read in a tweet that try not to laugh. It's like, why? What's going on with this one? Then that's what it came up with. But anyway, yeah, it's really scary at the same time that what we can do. You know, it's only a matter of time that we get impersonated. Like, you know, you see a video of yourself like doing disgusting things or weird things, then you get accused. People think it's actually real, and it's I don't know. That's just what I feel. But anyway, yeah. Since I started with AI, I wanted to talk about stuff like apparently Hollywood's starting to feel threatened with this one too.
Good.
Like this one also made the rounds, and it's kind of
Sea Dance is crazy.
This one's pretty good. I think this one's ByteDance's new tech. It's called Seed Dance 2. So it's ByteDance, for those who are not familiar, but I'm pretty sure you guys are. It's the company behind TikTok. So apparently they showcased their new tech.
China.
And this is like a fight scene between Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise. So it's scary. It's scary that you can just generate this stuff, man. It is. Pretty good. Pretty good.
So there's a problem with this scene. It's from something, or it's like a template or something. I've seen so many fight scenes generated where it's literally this exact same fight. The same motion. It's just like in a different setting or a slightly different setting. Sometimes it even does a similar setting.
Like if you showed this to me like 2 to 3 years ago, like and you didn't tell me it was AI, I would believe you that this was the real thing. This is the real thing. Like their faces, the movement, the cinematography. It's like, you know, we can just generate these things now.
I think I would have questioned it. I probably would have questioned it. I was questioning things 2 to 3 years ago. Now, 5, 6 years ago, when I wasn't looking for stuff being AI, because now I think that everything's AI, so I'm always looking. I'm always like on my toes, being alert, being cautious of AI. But 6 years ago, I was not. Before COVID, wasn't even AI wasn't even a thing that I was thinking about. I was thinking about like Bitcoin and Tesla at that time, but no AI. It was just like electric cars and going to Mars.
And it's like, yeah, I can see why people like feel threatened about it. It's kind of scary. Which brings me to this first article we want to talk about. It's from that Park Place. Shout out to Marvin, who's a prominent writer. I know he's a very active writer in this website. So Marvel writer reacts as Tom Cruise versus Brad Pitt AI fight video signals major film leap in AI filmmaking. It's likely over for us. So it's like even them, even writers in Hollywood are kind of admit, oh shit, our jobs are on the line here. So I'm not gonna read this entire thing. So yeah, so we watched this clip already. So what I want to talk about, it's likely over for us. So yeah, so Disney, you know,
Good.
everyone else in Hollywood, I think you guys should stop doing the woke shit and start listening to us.
I think that now we're going to get a whole lot of passion studios. A lot of people who make stuff because they actually want to make stuff, not because they think they can make a whole bunch of money or they're trying to push a message.
If you still want to, you know, keep your jobs. And you, like, if you're not going to provide us the entertainment that we want, we're going to do it ourselves.
Yep.
We were kind of headed there already a couple of years ago, but the rise in AI technology is only going to expedite that much faster. Like we have, you know, Eric July with the Rippaverse, like because comic books are so shit now, they're absolute garbage now. So Eric July said, you know what, we're just gonna make our own universe and make good characters, make good content. If you're not gonna do it, and now with this tech, it's only gonna get more. I think more people are gonna emerge and make better content.
I think very, very soon we're going to get the first AI video game that is cohesive enough to go viral, that people will be able to play. There are already some AI video games out there, but they're kind of weird. They're not there yet. I think that we've got one coming very, very soon. Not that it's an AI that's generating stuff as you're playing it. It's a game that was completely generated using AI, but it also is completely different and it's great. I think that's coming very, very soon. Be ready. It's going to happen.
Disney, you know, Netflix, Paramount, whoever it is in Hollywood, if they're going to continue, oh no, this is for the modern audience. We're not going to listen to the paying customer. We're just going to keep pandering and keep taking the DEI money. You're only going to run yourselves deeper down into the rabbit hole if you don't change your ways, which I kind of think that they're kind of given with the casting of Tangled. We talked about this like a couple of weeks ago, where they're getting the casting right for Rapunzel, for Flynn Rider, and all the others. The same with God of War live action. I think they're getting it right with Kratos, and I think Atreus was already revealed. Because last time Phil was concerned with Atreus being, you know, person of color, a mixed race kind of actor, but I think it was confirmed already. He's kind of like, you know, kind of faithful to the video game. So that's kind of good. So I think they're kind of listening. So, but even then, even like this is
that 2D side-scrolling platformer game looks awful. That Metroidvania God of War game. I don't know what they're thinking with that. That doesn't give me high hopes for the rest of the God of War franchise. At least the original creator of God of War came out and was like, what the fuck is this? What are you doing?
Without a doubt, it's like this is going to be a threat to them. Because like, so continuing the article, he later explained it on the concern, warning that may soon be possible for a single creator. Exactly. It's like, you know, if all I need to do is just study the tech, ByteDance's new tech. Like, how do I better prompt to generate the clip? Like, I can make my own cinematic just on that tech alone. Of course, not as refined, not as good as a, you know, fully produced one by a full production team. Of course, it's not as good, but even then, like, if someone like me, like, you know, who's an absolute normie, who has no idea, like, my own, like, everything I know about visual arts is, like, self-taught. I never had formal schooling, formal education about it, but with the power of AI, I can already do it by myself. So, yeah, a single creator to create a full-length film indistinguishable from studio production. Yeah, I agree. It's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time, guys. Like that, you know, it's like, it's scary at the same time, especially for these people. So they, in my opinion, start going back to your old ways and start listening. And yeah, this AI revolution is only gonna get better because like all the companies are doubling down. And for me, it's like, it's good in a sense that we're gonna get better entertainment, and it democratizes, should I say? Like example, people like me who didn't have.
And honestly, I'd rather watch something that I know is kind of slapped together using a really good AI than watch woke slop.
Have the capabilities to create something like this, I can now. But at the same time, things are going to become more expensive on the hardware side. Or maybe we're not going to rely as much on hardware anymore. And these companies are going to have a better say on the pricing with regards to availing of these products. That's the biggest downside of this tech. And yeah, okay, why should Disney should be paying attention? So I think he highlights the same points. If advanced combat mechanics make their way to YouTube creators, fan filmmakers could begin producing high-quality content set in major IP universe. Yeah, exactly. So, it's gonna be a threat. And, you know, you can say that Disney will copyright, or these major companies will do copyright strikes and stuff like that, but imagine there are just 10,000 of us generating this stuff, you know? So it's like, do they really have the power to copyright or control all of them? I don't think so. I don't think they'll be able to. Eventually, they can't regulate the entire thing if it's so accessible to so many people. So, at the end of the day, yeah, they can control, but at the same time, they gotta start listening to us. They gotta step it up in terms of producing something that the average person can't just generate through AI.
Yeah. AI is completely going to cook Hollywood, and I cannot wait until we can actually get to the point where we're making good stuff. Because right now it's just a playground. We're just playing with stuff. We're not actually getting anything that's useful. And it's coming. It's coming. Unless they get shut down, unless they shut it all down, I can't wait, man. I think they're going to shut it down before we can actually get it. We'll be locked out of it, and it'll just be the companies, the big companies that are allowed to use it. We won't be allowed to use it for, say, you know, making big movies. They'll make it illegal. They'll make it illegal for regular people to do it because it'll violate copyright, and they will come after you, at least at first. They did with, what was it? It was when they came after people for using that website to pirate music. They actually came after, like, regular people just for downloading music. And I can't remember what the website's was called. Like LimeWire, you know? And then it made it worse. So that's what's coming. They're gonna do that. They're gonna go after people for copyright. And then it's gonna get worse and they won't be able to do anything about it. And they should have never gone after people for copyright. Yep, and that's where I'm gonna end the stream. It's been fun. It's been real fun. It's been a real fun late night. It's a little bit early, but man, I'm tired. And tomorrow is Friday. Or I guess today's Friday, but tomorrow morning stream, the midnight stream, is gonna be fire! Because I got some stuff planned for the Friday night stream. And Saturday night, I am going to play Baldur's Gate 3 for hours. I'm not gonna do this stream. I am just gonna do the Baldur's Gate stream. Same place. Be awesome. Be there, be square. I love you.